Good evening and welcome. This is October 9th, 2023 legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. In the event of an emergency, we ask that everyone remain calm and exit through the double doors to the parking lot located at the front of the building. If the doors are blocked, please exit through the door to my right by pulling the fire alarm located to the right of the door under the monitor. Please let us know if you need assistance. At this time, we ask that everyone please silence your phones. If you plan to speak during the public comment period, at the end of this meeting, please fill out a form on the table to your left near the door as you came in and give to the city clerk. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we are all seated, we will have a moment of silent meditation. Could you please bow your heads? Thank you. We invite the new police chief, Dave Mindshine, and clerk of the circuit court, Bo McAllister, forward to the podium.
Do this? Yep. Why don't you step back just a hair and turn 45 degrees towards the camera? Are we good? Okay. Always got to check with the camera person. Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, David Mindshine,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of Chief of Police
Chief of Police
for the City of Salisbury,
for the City of Salisbury,
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
according to the Constitution and laws of this state.
Said you would. Make sure the camera gets a good shot. We got one more. Right here, please. Madam President, the new chief has been sworn.
What is that?
The new chief has been sworn, Madam President.
To have us pull from within. It is an honor, and we couldn't have chose a better person than Chief Dave Mindshine. Let's give him another round of applause. And let's support him in his endeavor. Let's be the force behind him, because he's going to need every single one of us. We will now have a proclamation, Fire Prevention Week, from our own mayor, John R. Jack.
Good evening. Thank you for that introduction. I think it's safe to say this is the safest place to be in Salisbury right now. Congratulations, Chief. I'd like to have Zach Bridges join me up here for this proclamation. Zach heads up our fire prevention team and does an excellent job. Whereas the city of Salisbury is committed to ensuring the safety and security of its citizens, and fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, with homes being the location in which our citizens are at greatest risk. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,800 people in the United States in 2021, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 338,000 home fires. And whereas cooking is the leading cause of home fires in the United States, where fire departments responded to more than 166,400 annually between 2016 and 2020. 2 of every 5 home fires start in the kitchen, with 31% of these fires resulting from unattended cooking, and more than half reported non-fatal home cooking fire injuries occurred when the victims tried to fight the fire themselves. And whereas the children under 5 faced a higher risk of non-fire burns associated with cooking than being burned in a cooking fire. And whereas the city of Salisbury residents should turn pot handles toward the back of the stove, always have a lid nearby when cooking. Keep a 3-foot kid-free zone around the stove and other things that could get hot. Watch what they heat and set a timer to remind them that they are cooking. And whereas citizens who have prepared the practice a home fire escape plan are better prepared and therefore more likely to survive a home fire. Additionally, working smoke alarms could cut the risk of dying in reported home fires in half. And whereas the city of Salisbury firefighters are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and the city's residents have been receptive to the public education measures, are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. Whereas 2023 Fire Prevention Week theme, Cooking Safety Starts With You, Pay Attention to Fire Prevention, effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Now therefore, I, John R. Heath, Acting Mayor of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim October 8th through the 14th, 2023 as Fire Prevention Week 2023 in our city, and urge all people of Salisbury to check their kitchens for fire hazards and use safe cooking practice during Fire Prevention Week 2023, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Salisbury City Fire Department. Thank you. Let's get a picture. I've been told how to do this. I'm going to show. So you hold that. And we go. Thanks, Zach.
Could I have a motion to adopt the legislative agenda? And a second?
So moved. Second.
Angela, you got it. Michelle. All those in favor, would you signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye.
4, 5, and the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Kim?
Good evening. On the consent agenda tonight, we have the August 21st, 2023 work session minutes, August 28th, 2023 special work session minutes, August 28th, 2023 closed session minutes, August 28th, 2023 council meeting minutes, September 5th work session minutes, and September 5th special meeting minutes. Resolution number 3284, approving the reappointment of Mary Buffington to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for term ending October 2026. And resolution number 3285, approving the reappointment of Brendan Frederick to the Historic District Commission for term ending October 2026. That's it.
All those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 And the chair votes aye, 5-0. Is Mary Buffington here? Or Brendan Frederick? If not, we would like to thank you for your consistent help with our committees and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee and also the Historic District Commission. Thank you so much for serving. Could I have a motion to approve the water bids?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Miller?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Normally, when I come up and present an award of bid, I just go right into it, right? But tonight, I wanted to give everybody a little bit of background about why I come up here and do what I do and what I'm asking council for when I, as the Director of Procurement, approach the council. So the Salisbury Municipal Code states, for budgeted goods and services, council approval shall only be required for contracts in excess of $100,000. Now, this particular requirement is stated within Section 2.32.050, Procedure for Competitive Bidding of the Municipal Code, okay? Now, the procedure for competitive bidding is like procurement's toolbox of contracting methods, okay? The code calls this methods of source selection. So these are the tools that we have, okay? So you all are intimately familiar with me coming in front of you and using acronyms, ITB, RFP, okay? So one of these tools in the toolbox or method of source selection is what's called competitive sealed bidding. You can equate that to what I come up here and call an invitation to bid or an ITB. Another tool in the toolbox is competitive sealed proposals. We call it a request for proposal or RFP, okay? So those are two tools that you guys are intimately familiar with. One of these other methods of source selection, excuse me, is found in item 5 of the section that I referred you to. It's called, there's two titles in the section. It's called non-competitive negotiation hyphen sole source procurement. All right, so this method states, it's the last item in there, that sole source procurement exists whenever the director, me, determines that there's only one available source for the subject of a procurement contract, and he or she may award the contract without competition to that source. Okay. Within the Department of Procurement, we get sole source procurement requests for other sole source procurements, right? It's not just the ones that come to council. I may get a sole source procurement request for something that's $25,000 or $50,000, okay? 90% of what I bring to council is something that we either have competitively bid or we piggyback on a cooperative contract. So you all might not be completely familiar with seeing or talking about this idea of sole source procurement, okay? But within the Department of Procurement, we want the using departments to justify why they think a particular supplier should be awarded a sole source procurement. Sometimes you can also call this a single source procurement. So let me explain. As a method, again, to justify a sole source procurement, we use a sole source justification form, okay? I did put that in your packet today. And like any request for a sole source procurement, it's always written specific to that particular procurement. Now, in terms of what you have in your packet today, this project in general is very, very complex. Nothing like we have done or seen before within the city of Salisbury, okay? I appreciate the time that you're allowing me right now to give you further insight into this method, okay? So Gillis Gilkerson, a related entity to Salisbury Town Center Apartments, would, if awarded this contract, in essence, orchestrate the overall development for everything that's going to happen on parking lots 1, 11, and 15, okay? Now, within the amended and restated LDA, there were specific obligations and timelines stated in that LDA. The LDA was very transparent with the intent that we would negotiate and award what we call a CMR contract. That stands for Construction Manager at Risk. Okay. I am here because we are following the steps that were outlined in the land disposition agreement. But before we can, I say we, the city or even the Department of Procurement, can award or sign a contract over $100,000, let's go back to what I pointed to earlier. Council approval is required for all contracts over $100,000. And again, it's within that section of procedure for competitive bidding. Now, in this case, this award would result in a CMR, Construction Manager at Risk contract, wherein we will negotiate the details of a contract, the rights and responsibilities of the parties, the owner, which is the city, the contractor, which would be Gillis Gilkerson, and an architect, okay? And we would set forth a guaranteed maximum price for the project. This guaranteed maximum price would include a construction manager at risk fee, whether that's a percent of the amount or whether that's a fixed fee, that's a to be negotiated term, okay? With all subcontracts within that larger contract being competitively bid, okay? Therefore, my request to council this evening, and any time I come to this podium, is to seek the approval of the procedure for competitive bidding. In other words, did the Department of Procurement follow the code as outlined in 2.32.050? It's never a request to approve the project or the funding. In this particular case, both of those were approved in ordinance number 2721. Now, should council not approve this award of contract, the city will still publicly bid for CMR services. And you will see me again in a few months with another request for award of contract. So, what I have in front of you this evening is a request to award a sole source contract to Gillis Gilkerson. This is for a 450-space public parking garage constructed on city-owned lot. We'll call this lot number 2, parking garage lot, as defined in the amended and restated land disposition agreement approved via Resolution 3263 on June 20th, 2023. Funds were appropriated in the amount of $10,750,000 on Ordinance 2721 Schedule B, Capital Project Appropriations Parking Fund. Of that $10,750,000, the city's contribution is $10 million. That $750,000 is the developer contribution. Okay? No funds can be expended prior to a declaration of official intent or bond ordinance. This would be anticipated to happen March, April timeframe of 2024, either of which are subject to council approval via resolution. As I mentioned earlier, per Municipal Code 2.32.050.c.5, non-competitive negotiation or sole source procurement, I'm requesting an award based on the Director of Procurement determining that there is only one available source for the subject of a procurement contract, and he or she may award the contract without competition to that source. In your packet, I hope that we have clearly defined the reasons why the city feels that contracting with Gillis Gilkerson is justifiable based on the information that I've provided in that justification. Now, pending negotiation, this is pending though, negotiation and execution of a standard form of agreement between owner and construction manager as constructor, where the basis of payment is the cost of work plus a fee with a guaranteed maximum price. That would be the contract document that we would look to negotiate and execute with Gillis Gilkerson.
Are there any questions or comments? Any questions or comments?
So how was the sum of $750 as a contribution from Gillis Gilkerson, how was that agreed upon?
Within the LDA, within the amended
So
and
that was,
restated
again,
LDA.
But within that LDA, how was that sum arrived? Between
Prior negotiations,
Okay.
prior discussion.
Ms. Miller, just for clarification.
Yeah.
This is just about the procedure. It's
Yes.
not, I mean,
Yes,
okay. I just want to make sure everyone
Correct.
understood that. Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Anyone else? I'm having no trouble with this. Okay. So, all in favor of the water bid signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes nay.
Thank you, council.
You're welcome.
Could I get a motion to approve Resolution 3286?
So moved. Second.
And Andy?
Good evening. This is resolution number 3286, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to accept a donation from Shore Appliance Connection of a washer and dryer for Ann Street Village. Whereas on September 20th, 2023, the City of Salisbury Housing and Homeless Services received a donation from Shore Appliance Connection of a washer and dryer from Ann Street Village Transitional Dwelling Units. Whereas the washer and dryer will be used by the participants at Ann Street Village as a means to wash and dry their clothes instead of having to pay the local laundromat. Whereas access to basic hygienic practices is a necessity to the vulnerable populations that reside at Ann Street Village. Whereas access to such resources will aid in the process of obtaining employment, which will in turn lead to self-improvement. Now therefore be resolved that the City Council in the City of Salisbury hereby authorizes the mayor to accept this donation of a washer and dryer from Shore Appliance Connection, which shall be used by the participants of Ann Street Village. Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
Just thank you to
Sure.
Shore Appliance Connection for the donation.
Yes.
That's
Grateful.
amazing.
Very grateful.
Very kind.
Yes, it was. So all in favor, signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2829 for second reading?
So moved.
Ms. Boucher?
Good evening, everyone. It's lovely and everything.
I need a
We need a second.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Boucher.
Ordinance number 2829. This is an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the FY 2024 general fund budget to update authorized position counts and grades. As you've mentioned, this is before you for second reading, and there have been no changes or amendments.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from council?
None.
Okay, all in favor of ordinance 2829, signify by saying aye for the second reading,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Could I get a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2830 for second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Boucher?
Ordinance number 2830, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving the mayor to appropriate funds for the Raw Water Line Naylor Mill project. Again, as you mentioned, this is before you for second reading. There have been no changes or amendments.
Are there any questions or comments?
None.
All those in favor of ordinance number 2830 for second reading, please signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2832 for second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Boucher?
Ordinance number 2832, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to accept grant funds from the Maryland Department of Transportation, Maryland Transit Administration, MDOT, MTA, for the feasibility study of fixed and flex route transit services and approving an amendment of the FY '24 budget to allocate said funds for purposes of implementation. This is also before you for second reading, no changes or amendments.
All in favor, first of all, let me ask, is there any questions or comments?
None.
None? Okay, all in favor of ordinance number 2832 for second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2833 for the first reading?
So moved. Second.
Ms. Boucher?
Ordinance number 2833, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to appropriate funds for the Newton Community Center project. Whereas the City of Salisbury has determined an additional $45,718.77 is needed to complete the Newton Community Center project. And whereas the City of Salisbury located $45,718.77 no longer required for other city projects and desires to reallocate those unused funds to the Newton Community Center project. And whereas the appropriations necessary to execute the appropriation of $45,718.77 as provided here and above must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council. Section 1 of Ordinance 2833 reads, Acting Mayor John Jack R. Heath is hereby authorized to appropriate funds for the Newton Street Community Project in the amount of $45,718.77. Section 2, the City of Salisbury's FY '24 capital projects budget being hereby is amended as follows, and I will highlight those for you. Starting with the description of Riverside Circle, it is description debt proceeds, decrease amount $6,941.77. Also for Riverside Circle, account description construction, decrease by that same amount, $6,941.77. For public works vehicles, decreasing for both debt proceeds and vehicles in the amount of $10,674.12, for bond issuance costs for account descriptions for debt proceeds and bond issuance costs decreasing again, same amount, $13,048.34, for unallocated project description for accounts for investment interest and construction, decreasing those by $15,054.54. And then moving to the Newton Community Center for investment interest, debt proceeds, and construction, increasing those by $15,054.54, $30,066,423, and $45,718.77. And that chart is before you and the ordinance.
Are there any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Just thanks to the Boys and Girls Club for partnering with us on this grant. I think it's a great opportunity for
Yes.
kids.
Yes.
Yes, it is. All those in favor of ordinance number 2833 for first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Could I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 2834 for first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Boucher?
Ordinance number 2834, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to appropriate funds for the Lot 5 compliance project. Whereas the City of Salisbury has learned remedial work is required on Lot 5 for the discovery of contaminants and subsurface anomalies, hereinafter referred to as the Lot 5 compliance project. And whereas the city has determined $89,905.53 is required for Lot 5 compliance project. And whereas funding for the project shall be provided by transferring $89,905.53 and pay-go funds from 4 projects that have funds not currently required, i.e. the City Park Phase 1, Main Street Master Plan, the North Prong Park, and Riverfront Games Park. And whereas the appropriations necessary to execute the appropriation of $89,905.53 as provided must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council. Section 1 of Ordinance 2834 reads, Acting Mayor John R. Heath is hereby authorized to appropriate funds for the Lot 5 compliance project in the amount of $89,905.53. And Section 2, the City of Salisbury's General Capital Project Fund budget is hereby amended as set forth in Schedule A. And you flip through the agenda to Section A. I'll highlight those changes for you. Decrease for project description City Park Phase 1 from count description pay-go funds in the amount of $53,000. Decrease City Park Phase 1 for the account description construction by $53,000. Compliance Lot 5 from description pay-go funds, $53,000. Compliance Lot 5 also for the project description construction, $53,000. Those are both increased. Decrease the Main Street Master Plan from pay-go funds in the amount of $36,905.53. Decrease the Main Street Master Plan engineering by $977.50. Decrease the Main Street Master Plan construction, $35,928.03. An increase for Compliance Lot 5 from pay-go funds and construction by the amount of $36,905.53.
Are there any?
Could I raise an issue myself? I noticed in
Yeah,
reading
the
about the
IE.
North.
Yeah, you
should
can
we-
take it. I think we should.
I think there should be a formal amendment to advise, after reading, to see about the North Prong project.
Yes.
Because it's
Yeah.
not
And
reflected
the
in
Games Park.
Schedule A.
I think
Yeah.
they're both.
Yes. I was getting ready, but I was gonna give them the opportunity to speak first.
I think it's just a mistake in the ordinance. I think we just strike that from line 15 because you can see in Schedule A, it's not referenced.
Right.
So Kim, how would you like to, how would you suggest?
Somebody would motion and then get a second to the amendment and then vote on the amendment.
So I move to amend the ordinance to, I guess, remove North Prong Park and the Games Park, is that what it was? the Riverfront Games Park from the ordinance.
Can I get a second? But I want to ask the question in the midst of this. Okay, so you're taking North Prong off and the Riverfront Game Park. And that's because this money, the money's not coming from either one of these projects, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I need a second.
I'll second the, oh, did you have a question? I'll second the amendment.
Okay. So is Michelle. And then Angela. Second amendment. Okay, so all in favor of the amendment? You signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the chair votes aye, 5-0. And all those in favor of ordinance number 2834 for first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. And the chair votes aye. The vote is 5-0. Okay, so now we're into the public comments.
There is one more.
Well, there is one more.
Is it?
It was on
One
the
more.
agenda, yes.
It's ordinance number
Okay, I got you.
2835. Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Ashley.
Wait, we have
Could I have
first,
a,
yeah.
wait a minute, let me pull my sash up. Could I have a motion, I guess I'm gonna have to put this here. Could I have a motion to accept, a motion and a second to accept ordinance number 2835? Is this the first reading?
So moved.
Okay. Angela, and a second?
Second.
Okay, Ashley. Ashley? Oh, okay, she's talking. Okay. Oh, my pen won't even write. Let me see your pen a minute, because my pen's not writing. Yours is writing better than mine.
Council President, after speaking with administration, I think we should pull that from tonight's agenda. I think it needs to go before you for a work session.
Oh, okay, okay,
And then so we can put it on for the
Okay.
following meeting.
okay, no problem.
So do we need to make a formal motion about that, Kim?
Yes. Go ahead. Who wants to do it? I'm not. We're making a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to table,
Yeah, to table it.
to table.
To table
ordinance
2835.
2835.
Someone
Second.
second. Okay. And
And
all,
vote.
all in favor of tabling ordinance number 2835? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All righty, so, for all of that.